How's it going, my truant people? DrSlaking, the Slacking Doctor, back for the round 1 of playoffs in the UBL, and in the quarterfinal game today, we are going up again against my man Ultraplayer and his West Virginia Miniors. If you missed the team builder yesterday, go ahead and check that out because it was pretty interesting. I explained a lot. I will briefly go over the team now at team preview and stuff as well, but also I want to give a huge shout out to my man Ultraplayer. I did in yesterday's team builder, but just in case you didn't watch it, definitely go check him out, go subscribe. He's one of the best people around, so yeah, he deserves all the love. Regardless, let's jump into this. Let's talk about the team. I apologize if you can hear the fan going in the background, just like you could yesterday if you watched Team Builder. It is just a billion degrees and I'm melting. It's not that hot, but my room is insanely hot. And yeah, I just can't handle it. Can't handle it. So, regardless, let's move on and waste as little time on this as possible because it's playoffs. It's exciting, right? It's a game that we want to see and we want to talk about. So, quickly going over the team, we have a Spikes, Boom, Max Speed, Max Attack, Mega Glalie. We have a very bulky, very strong 4 attacks, Choppleberry Pangoro. We have a Colberberry, 4 attacks, Pursuit Trapping, Metagross, no priority on it. We have a Choice Banded, essentially Flare Blitz, Earthquake, Infernape. We have a Sword Stance, Agility, Weakness Policy, Return, Fire Punch, Diggersby. Very, very bulky on this set. I forgot to mention that in the team builder yesterday, but it's near enough like max. It's like very fast and very bulky, not that much attack in the grand scheme of things. And then last but not least, we have a Max Defense, Max HP, 3 attacks, 2 attacks, no. Yeah, it was Earth Power, Rock Tomb, Toxic, Stealth Rock, no recovery, Rindo Berry, Palisand. So, as you've heard there, we've got 3 resist berries on this team, 1 weakness policy, 1 choice band, and 1 mega that goes boom. We're out here to just attack. Like, that's the game plan going into this game. I didn't have much time to prep. You didn't see the team, you won't know this, but I didn't have much time to prep. So I just decided, hey, when you don't have a lot of time to prep and you're trying to beat a top-class opponent, sometimes just going super aggressive, sometimes just kind of spamming, button mashing, and not thinking, brainless, is the best way to go. So we're going brainless. I mean, I haven't had one all season, so why start now? But we can see here, if you watch the team builder, I was very concerned about the Lycanroc Dusk, hence Colberberry, Choppleberry, not so much the Rindo Berry, but those 2, and especially with the resist berries on there. Yeah, there's no Lycanroc here. Instead, we see the Mega Sceptile, which is a huge threat that didn't come to last game. I think I had Ice Shard. No, I didn't bring Ice Shard last game because I didn't think it would come. Considered it again this game, but yeah, I was kind of hoping it wouldn't come. This is a huge threat for an offensive team without any choice Scarfers on it. Only real priority is Mach Punch here. This thing is a ginormous threat, whilst I do think Mega Sceptile is one of the worst Megas in the format. Don't tell Josh I said that. I do think against my team composition, it goes crazy. So that's very, very scary. Other than that, I'm kind of expecting a similar sort of team to last time with a few tweaks. I very much think this looks like Scarf Thunderous again. I think he needs a Scarfer to outspeed Salamence. If I go for a Dragon Dance, look at his team with the Salamence, right? I pretty much just destroy it. So I feel like this is Scarf with HP Ice on there almost certainly at team preview. Other than that, I'm guessing like a Fizz Def Mesprit could be Rocky Helmet like last time. I'm thinking probably a mixed or potentially even physical Sceptile. I'm hoping, because if it's physical, there's a chance I might be able to take a hit with my Diggersby and get my weakness policy popped. But otherwise, it could just be a special 4 attacks type Sceptile. Maybe even sub or SD if it is physical. Yeah, rocks on the Steelix, fairly obvious. Rapid Spin and possibly Toxic Spikes on the Tentacruel looks concerning. And then I think this looks likely to be like a leftovers bulky Steeler, but it is kind of weird because on his team he has this Scarfer, he has this powerful Fastmon, but he doesn't really have an obvious like breaker on this team archetype, which makes me feel like maybe Sceptile could be used as the breaker for a setup Celesteela at team preview. But I'm not 100% sure on that. He might just want to kind of break with his bulk, pivot around a bit. Maybe the Mesprit is more offensive than I'm expecting. Maybe the Tentacruel is more offensive than I'm expecting. Maybe this is even some kind of setup variant and he's just not worried about Salamence. So all of these things are kind of going through my head, but regardless, I had a game plan going into this. I mentioned this in the team builder. I was always leading with Mega Glalie. No matter what I saw on his team, no matter what he led with, I was leading with Mega Glalie and I was clicking Spikes and I wasn't looking back. I didn't bother to, yes, I analysed his team compositions, try and see if I could figure out any sets that I thought were likely to be there. For example, the Thunderous being Scarf at team preview looking very, very likely is good information to have. But other than that, I didn't care. I wasn't trying to select what lead he would go for or anything like that. Doesn't matter to me. I'm clicking Spikes here. So as it happens, he leads with his Mesprit as we get our Mega off with Ricer here with Glalie. Hasn't really come much since week 1. Like I think this is its 4th game. I tried using it later in the season because I was like, you know, we've pretty much locked for playoffs later in the season. Let me just see if this thing is good because I just haven't found matchup for it a bunch. And what I've established is that it is basically a mega slot to click spikes plus explosion. I kind of think that's worth if you get a load of points for it, not going to lie, if you get some really good early picks. I think it has value, but yeah, it is pretty much just spikes plus explosion. That's about what it does. Here I'm just going to go for the Earthquake because I can't revenge kill this thing very well at all if its sturdy isn't broken, and this should always put this in range of Banded Ape's Flare Blitz. So, obviously, it could be some kind of defensive set, and there we got to see it was Sugarberry. I would have maybe, if I had seen no leftovers and no Sugarberry there, I might have suspected the Ockerberry or the Chopal, and I could have tried to maybe make a prediction around which one I thought was more likely, although I wouldn't necessarily have done. He overpredicts and goes for the Toxic. I say overpredicts, arguably expecting me to switch out, fearing like a heavy slam, and goes for the Toxic. Here he just fires off the Stealth Rock as I go for another Spike. I told you I don't care about this Glalie. I'm getting up as many spikes as I can. And now at this point, like, I'm fairly sure I'm going to die. And I want to at least get as much damage off on this thing as I can. Make sure that it's definitely in 8 range. I don't want to mess around with it. So I'm just going to go for the Explosion because everything else on my team that would revenge kill this thing, and I thought I could maybe even KO it here. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to. Anything else on my team that can come into revenge kill this is going to be slower than the Tentacruel. And I really don't want anything in slower than the Tentacruel because I don't want that thing coming into spin immediately. So I'm going to go into Ape here and I'm going to click Earthquake. Obviously, I am choice banned, so I don't want to click Flare Blitz and just let the Tentacruel in. This way, clicking Earthquake means that the Tentacruel should never come in here. It'd have to take 2 spikes, and if it does come in, then I'm guessing that's the Scarfer, which I would find a weird Scarfer because it was Speed Tower Elements, but you don't know. Regardless, he goes into Celesteela. I think that this tells me that he is... It's a weird play. This is a weird play. Basically, I sat here and I was like, okay, Celesteela on my Infernape. So I'm guessing he looked at my team composition at this point. This is what's all going through my head. I'm like, alright, he's looked at my team composition and he's thought that I'm Scarf Infernape. But I also know that Josh is way too good of a player to just throw out his Celesteela on a maybe he's Scarf. It looks like he probably is. Like, that feels so loose to me. Like, that doesn't feel like a play at all that he would make. Especially with, like, the Mesprit there. If you think I'm Scarf, you can go Mesprit, click U-turn, and get free momentum because I can't stay in. So, to me, this is like, wow, this is super weird. I don't know why he's gone into this. Unless he's, like, one, trying to find out if I am Scarf, trying to get that information early. Obviously, I'm banded, so it's going to look like I'm Scarf to him if I switch out here, which I am going to do. Or 2, he's going to click Protect to scout and then potentially double into the Tentacruel on my Flare Blitz, right? And I'm like, okay, that's probably what he's going to do here. The third option, or the third and fourth options to me, is that he's Ockerberry, and this is some kind of lure, but that, again, feels loose, because, like, if Josh wanted to sell me a bluff, he would not do it like this. He would not bring in the Celesteela to revenge kill my Infernape, because he's going to make me think I'm the one attacking him, rather than just saying to me, hey, look, I'm Ockerberry, attack me, please. Like, that's not a good bluff, right? So, again, I don't believe he's doing that. So, the fourth option is that he's going to try and double here, but again, I'm like, I can't do much about that, because if I do stay in an Earthquake here, predicting the double, and he is Ockerberry Earthquake, and I have just, I guess, overestimated my opponent, I lose my Infernape, and my Infernape just goes crazy against his team. Like, it's so good. Banded Flare Blitz here just claims a kill every time with 2 spikes up. Tentacruel ain't taking that. So, I'm just like, right, okay, I can't... I want to call the double here, but if he protects as well, then I'm not in a good spot. So, I think, right, I've got to try and get momentum, but I've got to keep the double in my mind. So, with all that being said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch into Pangoro, because Pangoro will take the Earthquake. If he wants to go for the Earthquake, if he wants to go for the Protect, it lets me click Thunder Punch next turn, which crucially does not let the Tentacruel in. Or if he makes the double, which he does, into Tentacruel, this is a good play. I can't knock it, because if he had gone into Mesprit there, like, there's a chance I could have just double Earthquake, like predicting him to U-turn out or something. I mean, he's not Scarf, so I wouldn't have done that. But you know what I mean? Like, if I had gone into Mesprit, I could have just changed up my move and Flare Blitz the hell out of him if I wasn't Scarfed. But by going into the Celesteela, he essentially says to me, look, I'm either Ockerberry and I'm bluffing you, or I'm protecting to scout for your choice item. So, like, he just... I think he knew that he forced my hand here, that I couldn't double Earthquake no matter how badly I wanted to. But by going into Pangoro, crucially, if this thing chooses to spin here, I basically take it from him. And spikes, whilst they are like good in this matchup, and I really wanted them, with this thing gone, The only thing that I wanted the spikes damage off on particularly was the Sceptile, and that is still a huge problem. So he does go for the Rapid Spin, he does get rid of the spikes. Here, if he's going to go for the Scold and burn me, I'll be alright, but he actually reveals to have the Surf, which is like best case scenario for me, because I'm like, I don't care about that. I do reveal that I'm not choiced here, because I would think from my damage output the first time, he would know I'm not like a band or anything like that, and he would know I didn't have speed and wasn't kind of Scarf or anything like that, so I didn't see the point in not switching up moves there and just going for the knockoff. It stopped him from making a switch out into like this, for example, or something else. So anyway, the Mesprit comes back out, and I think he's going to U-turn, but just in case he Dazzling Gleams to try and take the Pangoro from me, I'm going to go hard Metagross. Metagross doesn't have a terrible matchup against anything if he U-turns. I can probably get big damage off on everything, so it's fine. And crucially here, he does go for Dazzling Gleam, knowing that he can probably U-turn on all of my switch-ins, because he'll outspeed something like Big Steve, but I know I've got that Pursuit tech, so I know I can trap him here, which is why I thought Dazzling Gleam was his most likely play, because he knows he can always just U-turn out on the slow things. But with that chip damage on this thing now, that's going to be in range of Diggersby too. So Diggersby suddenly with that +2, if I can get either a Sword Stance off or my weakness policy popped and an agility up, I'm taking something. This thing I am almost certain is Scarf at this point, so I just decided to stay in. I don't have switch-ins anyway, and I don't think he's ever T-bolting when I have 2 ground types in the back, and one of them could set up on him for free if his choice is never T-bolting. So he goes for the U-turn here, which all but reveals to me he's Scarfed, and I fire off the Ice Punch, trying to catch that Thunderous. This is perfect for me. This is so good, because remember me saying the only other thing I wanted that spike damage on was the Sceptile? I'll take that Ice Punch damage, and here I am regretting so hard. If you watch the team builder, you will know that I took Bullet Punch off last minute, and I was thinking like, damn, I wanted Bullet Punch, and I was sitting there in the game like, I'm so stupid, I was so annoyed, and it wasn't until after the game, when I recorded the team builder, in fact, that it occurred to me that I actually took Bullet Punch off for Ice Punch, so I would never have been able to do this without, if I had kept Bullet Punch, I wouldn't have been able to hit the Sceptile coming in, so, you know, it happens. It worked out in the end. I'm just going to stay in here, and I was regretting not keeping my Shuckerberry. If you watch the team builder, I originally was Shuckerberry and changed it to Colbur. I was like, man, if I was Shucker, I would take this, but if he over-predicts, like Leaf Storm, Dragon Pulse, something like that into me, I'm going to eat that. He goes for the Hidden Power Fire. It does actually pick up the KO here. We did exchange sets after game, and he turned out to be Modest Match Special Attack. I didn't run the calcs there, but I mean, I had a bit of HP, and Metagross isn't frail, so, and HP Fire is only base 60 power, so potential roll, I don't know. I really should have ran the calc. It might not have been though. It might not have been, but I don't know. That just like, even at the time, I was like, whoa, that's strong. Like, what hidden power is that? Has he got some kind of 4 times effective hidden power against me that I don't know? Like, how did he manage that? Either way, I'm gonna go into Infernape here, and this was a really, really tough decision for me. So something really crucial kind of came about when he clicked the U-turn with the Thunderous and went into Sceptile. That like triggered something in my mind of kind of mindset in this battle, where I was like, why the hell did he U-turn into Sceptile when I was fairly obviously clicking Ice Punch or Stone Edge? Either way, like, Sceptile doesn't want to take a Stone Edge, it doesn't want to take an Ice Punch. You know, it did live either, but like, why wouldn't he just go his Celesteela, right? Like, I know Thunder Punch would maybe, well, Thunder Punch I was never clicking because it was a Thunderous, it was in on me, so it has Volt Absorb. So like, I just couldn't twig in my brain, like, why wouldn't you go Celesteela? And I was thinking about it, I was like, I don't think, like, yeah, you could say, well, maybe he's going to make a crazy prediction and Thunder Punch, and I do think there's an element of that, but why are you preserving your Thunderous over your Sceptile if you know that I could have, like, Mach Punch on Ape, I could be Scarf on something? Like, I feel like this Sceptile does need its HP more than other things on his team, more than the Celesteela. So, I really, at this point, was like, this Celesteela's set up. Like, I'm pretty certain from the fact he hasn't used it as a pivot to Glalie, like he did in the first game, I think, if I remember right. He hasn't used it as a pivot to Metagross, which seems like it'd be a really good pivot to, especially when you're in with a Thunderous. He didn't use it as a pivot for Pangoro. I'm just like, I think it's set up. I'm pretty sure it's autotomized. So at this point, this is a really tricky situation for me, because knowing that he's autotomized, if I band myself into Mach Punch here and he goes into the Celesteela and clicks autotomize, depending on his spread and what he does, he could potentially sweep my team, right? Metagross is down, Pangoro is pretty low, pretty chipped down, so something like Heavy Slam, Earthquake, And I don't know, any random fourth move, especially if his weakness policy, looks really, really bad for me here. So I thought about going into my Palisand, but that seemed like such an obvious Rindo Berry. I was talking earlier about how if he'd gone hard into Stealer to revenge kill my ape and it was Ockerberry, that was a weird like bait, that was a weird bluff. And that's how I felt going into Palisand here would be. I was like, that's weird. So here I really wanted to just choice ban myself into Flare Blitz and hope that he wouldn't stay in or isn't running the Earthquake, right? He's already shown with Hidden Power Fire he's at least predominantly special, but there's a chance I might not be able to take this Dragon Pulse depending on potential rolls, investments. I wasn't confident. I'm not sure, but I wasn't confident about taking this Dragon Pulse. So I ended up bottling it, and I made what I think is a choke play. I actually go for Mach Punch here, which, as I say, will let that Celesteela set up for free. I'm kind of just hoping that he goes into Mesprit here, but it's loose. Like, this is a loose play by me, so I do fire off the Mach Punch as he reveals the Protect, which I was like, damn, that's really good prep. Like, that's really, really good prep, because now I think he probably suspects I'm not Scarf, and he maybe suspects I'm Banded. Like, maybe he's kind of figured that out now. So this puts me in another difficult position where I'm like, if I stay in and I Mach Punch and he goes Mesprit, he can then U-turn into Celesteela and set up, and he gets to keep the Sceptile around, which still screws my Diggersby, which is my win con right now, and he gets to set up. So, like, I can't do anything about that. If he chooses to stay in and sack this off, then he goes into Celesteela and he sets up, right? If he banks on me being choiced, which maybe he won't do, but maybe he will. So I'm in this really tough spot where I'm like, do I think he's gonna stay in? Do I think, you know, do I think he's brave enough to go Celesteela and set up on me? And ultimately, like, I don't want to risk it. So instead, I'm gonna pivot out into my Onigawara into Pangoro, and I'm just going to sack this thing off to the Dragon Pulse. After we take rocks damage and stuff, we're dropping to this. And now I'm instead going to go into my Rindo Berry Palisand, because I feel like at this point it might look like I'm just trying to drop his special attack. Alright, I've shown the Mach Punch. I've shown that I don't want to stay in and do that. So this could look like I'm just trying to drop his special attack with the Leaf Storm, die to it, and then get in my Infernape to kill him. If he's Giga Drain here, then that's fine, because I'm going to go for the Rock Tomb. And honestly, he misses Leaf Storm, and we kill him. Now, I would have lived the Leaf Storm anyway, with the Rindo Berry 100%, and I would have killed him anyway. So that's that, but we'll get onto this a little bit later as we go through the rest of this game. But I was like, damn, he's not Giga Drain. And in my head, like, I was more expecting Giga Drain than Leaf Storm, much more, to be honest. I don't know, I don't like Leaf Storm as a move, so I wasn't really expecting it. And I thought maybe Energy Ball, but I don't know why I'd got it in my head that it was going to be Giga Drain, but I had. So I was thinking that he wouldn't die to that Rock Tomb, and that would let me band my ape into Flare Blitz, and that would stop the Celesteela ever coming in. Now I'm in a tough spot, because the Celesteela can come in and set up on me, but fortunately he goes into Mesprit. And I'm like, okay, that's not so bad. All I have to do here is sack Palisand to the Mesprit, get in my Diggersby, and he either has to let me set up, or he has to give me my weakness policy. Like, he has to let me set up to +2 attack with the Sword Stance and +2 attack with +2 speed with agility, or he has to give me my weakness policy, essentially. Either way, I'm at least getting agility off here. I get a Toxic off on this thing to make sure that it's going to be in range of my attacks, and then I'm just going to go for Stealth Rocks on this turn, because that makes sure that the Thunderous, when it comes in, is going to be in range of my Diggersby too. The chip helps on Celesteela. I guess if it was Sash or the Thunderous or Sash, it would help with that, but I mean, I find that unlikely that either of them would be that, but still, it's a possibility, you know. So basically, we're just going to, especially with him stacking his Tentacle so early, it doesn't seem likely he's got any Sashes, but nevertheless, we're just going to get our Stealth Rocks up, and here I make another, what I would call a choke play. So yeah, I consider this to be a choke play. I consider this to be a pretty bad play on my part. So basically, as you can see here, the next Energy Ball will kill me. So in my head, I'm like, alright, all I have to do is stay in, sack this to Energy Ball, and I'm fine. That's not strictly true. What I should have done here is I should have gone into Infernape, because if he Energy Balled into Infernape, Infernape gets in for free. If he U-turns on Infernape, he can never go into Celesteela. If he Psychics into Infernape, I still get my Diggersby in anyway. So there's really, and I've already seen U-turn, Energy Ball, and Dazzling Gleam, so I'm pretty sure he's got the Psychic on the set. So there's really no drawback to me going into Infernape. If I go into Infernape, I think that's checkmate. I think if I go into Infernape, he U-turns, Flare Blitz, Flare Blitz, Flare Blitz, until Thunderous kills me, and at the point where Thunderous kills me, if he is indeed Scarf, at the point where Thunderous kills me, it probably has to be with a move that lets Diggersby sets up, because there's nothing that can hit Ape and Diggersby very well. So, I just think this was a huge choke play by me. Like, I should have just gone 8, because even if he U-turned here, it didn't matter, right? He never got to set up with anything. As it happens, I went for Rock Tomb because I was playing a little bit slow, a little bit rusty, to be honest. I haven't played as much as I would have liked recently. So I just go for the Rock Tomb, and that is going to let his Celesteela go for an Autotomize, if he chooses to go into that, if that is his set. The fact that it still hasn't come out at this point, I'm absolutely convinced that's what's going to happen. So I go for the Rock Tomb here. Of course, I think Rock Tomb can miss, so we're kind of relying on landing it as well, which is a thing. But we do land it. We do get the speed drop on the Celesteela. So if he is going for a Autotomize here, he's only going to be +1. I have to go Infernape here. Like, I cannot do anything else. I cannot let this single Autotomize for free, and there's a chance I don't outspeed this Celesteela at +1. Because if he does go to the Autotomize here, which he does, obviously -1 from the Rock Tomb, +2 for the Autotomize, he's now at +1. That's how he kind of nets out from that. So now I'm in a kind of tough spot, because if I am slower than him and he air slashes me and kills, or he earthquakes and kills, and he gets an attack boost or a special attack boost, depending on what moves he's running, he could sweep me. So that's why I say that I think staying in my Palossand was a huge choke. Now, as it happens, I think he didn't outspeed my Infernape. I don't think he had enough speed on it, and I knew he would need a ton of speed to be able to outspeed my Infernape, but still, it was a possible variant, and that's why I think I had to cover my back on that one. That does just reveal to me that he is definitely Scarf, though. Sorry, definitely Autotomize set of variant Celesteela, though. And this is talking back to the position that I was saying about going into my Infernape earlier. This is exactly what I'm talking about, because now I get to click Flare Blitz. The Mesprit comes in. Imagine if I'd brought this in on an Energy Ball. This would be the exact same scenario, right? So Flare Blitz goes in. He has to go into the Thunderous to revenge kill me. It has to be Scarf to be able to revenge kill me. Otherwise, it's just going to die to this banded Flare Blitz, and I've won the game. But that is essentially checkmate, I think, because I don't think there's any move he can go for that kills my Diggersby. So here he goes for the Fly, and I'm like, okay, so he is Scarf and he's Fly. That's pretty heat. I'm going to go into my Palossand here and sack off my Palossand. But it's really important to note that if he misses this Fly, I am then going to double back into my Infernape. Even if he flies again, it doesn't matter. All I've got to do is make sure that he can't then go out into his Celesteela on my Palossand. Palossand at this point only comes in when it's getting sacked, right? I never leave it on the field, ever, because it lets that Celesteela win, potentially. So I'm just going to go here for the sack. If he misses, I'm going to pivot back into Ape. Even if he flies again, I'll just go back into Palossand and try and sack the Palossand again, and we can just keep doing this over and over and over. Eventually, Ape will die to Stealth Rocks, and that will give my Diggersby set up. So, you know, it is what it is. Or I'll just sack my Ape. The reason that I want to keep Ape around at this point is because if by any reason Diggersby fails to pick up the KO on Celesteela, Ape has Mach Punch, and so I just feel like I don't know his set on Celesteela. This is the freest sword stance of my life, seeing that he's Scarfed into Fly, so I don't think he should ever take this Fire Punch, but just in case, I would rather have the Ape in the back with banded Mach Punch than have the low health Palossand in the back that can't really do anything. So regardless, he does go to Fly here. He does land as we get the SD off on the first turn, which means we can just fire off a return and guarantee to KO this thing with the Rocks chip on it this time. This thing is going to drop, and now it looks to me like with 2 turns of Rocks damage on the Celesteela, it looks like this Fire Punch should pretty much always destroy him. And if it doesn't, unless he's some kind of Super Berry set, he should always be in range of Mach Punch. If he was like Autotomized Super Berry, that could be a little bit scary, but obviously my Diggersby is likely to outspeed him even after he Autotomizes, so I don't feel like he can go for that either. We do pick up the KO with the Diggersby here, and Warren leads us to a first round playoff win in the UBL, and our first ever win against Ultraplayer and his West Virginia Miniors. The Bowland Bovines got it. We finally did it. We finally got a W. It feels good, I won't lie. Now, I do want to talk about this game a little bit in terms of, I think Josh played better than me. I think his double with Celesteela into Tentacle to get rid of spikes was a very, very good play. I think that his use of Sceptile to apply offensive pressure, his Protect tech that he brought, I thought that these were all fantastic. Now, that's not to say that I don't think he made some misplays. For example, you know, after he got the Protect off with the Sceptile, I felt like he could have gone Mesprit that turn to U-turn into his Celesteela, like I said, and arguably that could have been a better play for him. I guess I could have changed the moves though, so maybe not knowing that was choiced. But crucially, one turn that we kind of discussed, which I think he felt put him in a tough spot, was just prior to this here, where the Mega Sceptile goes for the Leaf Storm into the Palisand. And the reason I want to talk about this turn is because he made a very good point when we discussed it after the game, where he says, look, if I land that Leaf Storm, I know you live with a Rindo Berry. It was a fairly obvious Rindo Berry. I think he knew when he was going for the Leaf Storm I had it. But he was like, I then could have gone into my Celesteela, and I could have autotomized to win the game from there, because his Celesteela was actually running the Energy Ball over the Giga Drain, which again, if he was special Celesteela, I was more thinking Giga Drain. I don't know why I had Giga Drain so in my head this game, but I really did. But he actually was Expert Belt Energy Ball, so with the +1 special attack, he more than likely KO'd my Diggersby. I think after rocks, he guaranteed to KO my Diggersby. So I understand his frustration where he's like, look, if I leave some there, I then go into my Celesteela, I autotomize on this thing all day, and I win. However, the one thing I would say is that whilst, yes, I do agree with that to some extent, I do think that he had other ways of doing that. For example, I think he could have gone Celesteela here and autotomized and potentially Energy Board, and I would be really interested to hear his side on this, because even with me being able to Rock Tomb him repeatedly, having my Rindo Berry intact, him having to take a few Energy Balls to put me down, Palisand is so weak. Like, my Rock Tomb's doing nothing to him. Like, I can't touch him. He didn't know my full set at this point, so maybe he might fear that Shadow Ball could have maybe like 4-hit KO'd him, but I feel like he could have still done the same thing with Celesteela, and I feel like Celesteela could have swept me from here still, potentially. So I definitely think he still had options now. Again, he had to fear the Mach Punch from Ape, I guess, and he had to fear the Quick Attack from Diggersby, I guess, not knowing those sets. But I still think he might have had to fear those, even if he's got some damage off on me with the Sceptile, because I still could have got at least 2 Rock Tombs off on him, probably, because he would have had to try and go to like +4, so I still would have got some chip off on him, or 2 Shadow Balls potentially. So it's that thing where I feel like I completely agree with him that he could have done that and it could have won him the game, but I wonder if in the high pressure situation of a playoff game, would you make that play? I don't know. So I do agree that the hacks is definitely unfortunate, and I completely apologize to him after the game, and it sucks because I hate the fact that my first win against him had a big miss in it. He took it really well, by the way. He was like, yeah, it happens, it's Pokemon, it's the game we play. But from my perspective, I think that after the game, it's always much easier for us two to sit back and analyze and go, wow, this would have won in the game if he had done this. But it's much harder to actually know if in the moment we make those plays. The hacks was definitely unfortunate, but I don't think that actually it takes anything away from our performance. I think the reality is that beyond the hacks, he just played better than me. Like, I think he made better doubles, I think he made more aggressive plays. I just brought this offensive, brainless team that ultimately his team composition I don't think was ready for. I think he prepped for a more logical team than what I brought, essentially. And crucially, I think the most essential thing of the whole game was once we got to here, once I realized this Celesteela is set up, I think we both knew, or certainly I knew, that if I set up my Diggersby before he set up his Steela, I won. If he set up his Steela before I set up my Diggersby, he won. So it was just a race to see who could position their setup on first, and I really feel like we juggled that pretty well. As I say, the one choke play was when I let him U-turn on my Palisand here. That was like the one choke play where I didn't position my setup sweeper earlier than he could position his. That's the one time where I could have lost me the game, but at the same time I still always had the Rock Tomb out into Infernape and potentially being able to outspeed his Celesteela play. So yeah, I don't know, I feel like he played marginally better than me. I just brought the right prep to upset a top level player. Someone that's not expecting such a brainless team. I think I knew that that's kind of what I had to do. So yeah, GG to him, and definitely I think the hacks, even if nothing else, like, it just impacts the way you play the game. And maybe he would have gone into this. Maybe he would have just set up and swept me from there. I don't know. Maybe he would have missed Air Slash and Infernape would have killed him, or something like that. So it's Pokemon, isn't it, right? It's the game we play. It's all ifs, buts, and maybes. But this was for sure a very, very entertaining playoffs game. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Sorry that we had to go back and kind of clear up the RNG, but it is such a huge part of the game we play, and I think it's such an interesting talking point in what was a very well played game on my opponent's side that I don't want to just ignore it. I don't want to not touch on it and give my take on what happened, and that's kind of how I saw it. But I definitely recommend you guys go and subscribe to Ultraplayer and go and watch his side of this game, because he will be able to give a better account of how he was thinking in that moment than I could. And it may well be that, you know, it affected the game even more than I think, and I still think it affected it quite a lot. So yeah, I think I've done enough rambling on now. We are going on to the next round of playoffs. If you guys don't want to know the results for any of the playoff games, I'm about to spoil one of them, so click away now, but press like and subscribe, please. It would mean a lot. I don't often ask for that, but fuck it, we just won a playoffs game against Ultraplayer. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling myself. Anyway, next week we are going to be in the semi-finals of the UBL against another player we have a shaky record against another player who I have played in playoffs before and lost to. We are going up against my man Sohan, OPJellicent, the guy that beat us in the IBL D-League finals. Definitely one of the best players in the UBL. He finished the regular season as the top seed, as we finished the season pretty badly, choking away that top seed spot. But we did manage to beat him in the regular season for the first time. So who knows? Maybe this is our season. Maybe our draft. Maybe we have matchup. I don't know. But I cannot wait. I honestly, of all our to have Ultraplayer first round of playoffs, OPJellicent second round of playoffs, like these are two people that I wanted to play like as much as anyone. Like I would also love to play DeathlyiAm, that's my boy, and I have a lot of time for Vepsis, so I would love to play him, as well as like Root, Goldoa, Silver, like all the playoff coaches. But like these two in particular, as well as DeathlyiAm, are like the three that I have interacted to on a one-to-one basis with the most. So yeah, I'm definitely hyped that we get to play Ultraplayer and then OPJellicent in back-to-back playoff games. I think that's incredible. So yeah, go and watch everyone else. Go and watch all the other playoff games. They're all fantastic. Regardless, thank you so much for living around me, guys, and I'll catch you again next time.